My name is Astrid Westlin-Wikström. I'm working for ICLE, the European Secretariat, based in Germany. Today we're having a stakeholder dialogue. For the RAMSES project, we are one of the consortium members. And there we are coordinating the work involving and coordinating stakeholders to make sure that we have a reality check on the research that we're conducting.
I'm Birgit Georgi. I work with the European Environment Agency in Copenhagen. I'm responsible for climate change adaptation and cities.
My name is Zuzana Hudekova and I am coming from Bratislava. I am working at the department of the chief architect of the city, and climate change adaptation is of course one of the topics that I am working on.
My name is Wolfgang Socher. I come from the city of Dresden and I am working in the city administration within the environmental office.
My name is Brian Field. I work for the European Investment Bank, where I'm a senior economist and also the bank's urban planning and development advisor.
I'm Pauline Hartog and I'm working at Waternet, the water authority in the city of Amsterdam.
My name is Janine Galliano and I work for the Government of Gibraltar in the Department of the Environment.
Today we have quite an intense program, and it's kind of looking into some of the work packages that we are working on within the RAMSES project. So we have 3 focused topics today. One is on indicators, so resilient indicators for architecture and infrastructure.
We don't make indicators for adaptation, but we use the indicators the cities use already in their urban processes, and we only look how can we change them, make them more resilient for climate adaptation.
Then we're going to talk about cost assessments for adaptation. So look into cost curves of adaptation measures, the cost benefits of adaptation.
Adaptation is about accommodating new ways of life and a new modus operandi in an environment which is increasingly threatened by climate change, but is also compromised by the fact that the growth scenario, economic growth, is likely to be much slower than it has been in the past.
And finally, we're having our umbrella topic. So it's kind of the red thread for the RAMSES project, but also for these stakeholder dialogues. And it's transition. So looking into vision, creation of visions for the cities, together with researchers and together with the cities.
Well, I think that climate change is becoming an issue which is affecting more and more people. There's more and more people living in more hazard-prone areas. We've seen the extreme weather events increasing in frequency, and it's very costly and also dangerous to not try and adapt. We should really have a proactive attitude to climate change rather than just being reactive.
I find it quite interesting that this project has taken the topic climate resilient and not only adapting to climate. And I think it has a positive notion and it goes beyond what traditionally is understood by adaptation.
What we're talking about today are crucial topics on adaptation. So topics that have not yet been researched too much, and topics that cities, at least from my work with cities, have really asked about.
This topic is still a little bit, I would say, new. We know about the concept of sustainability, and this is one of the pillars that actually we are adding to the concept of the sustainability.
At last, every city had to find their own solution. But it's also important to interact with other cities, with other institutions, organizations, to hear from them what have they for experiences, what have they for solutions, and then we have to select what is useful for us, what could be useful for others. And that's why such a workshop like today is very, very important for us.
Especially groups like this where we get with other European countries who might be faced with similar risks. You can share information, you can share data, you can learn not just from their successes but from their failures as well. So it's great to work together to share all this information and to basically try and come up with a plan to what are the best ways of adapting to climate change.
We know that climate change will happen. We don't know exactly the extent. But I think it's very wise if cities start to think about it, start to take action, because thinking climate change adaptation into current planning will in most cases be less expensive than to react lately.
I think the stakeholder dialogues are crucial in making sure to connect policy with science, with practitioners, and also not just the policymakers but more the technical staff. And these are crucial, I think, needed more and more, and I think it's also more requested.
Definitely scientific data is the common language between countries. It's something that you do need to have the research done so that you know how your area is going to be affected by climate change, which risks might improve or get more hazardous, what areas would you might need to invest more money in or less money in, what areas might you have no data on.
You need knowledge and information what might happen with the city, and you need knowledge about your options, how you can adapt.
The biggest problem is much of the science studies are not translated to the level of the cities.
It's a great opportunity for researchers, but they need to give the right message to the recipients of their research and the beneficiaries of their academic endeavours. And the way to do that is to confine themselves to simple English or whatever language they speak, and not to try and mask what they're doing behind a plethora of technical terms which are in essence meaningless.
It's quite interesting because here we're in the nexus between science and practice, and it's always very challenging because you have different approaches, the research community, the practitioners. And here you see practitioners, not just cities, but also organizations that are also a little bit maybe more on the ground, supporting cities in their work on adaptation. So it's always a challenge trying to bring two perspectives together. But that's why we have these interactive exercises. That's why we kind of force also researchers to speak a different kind of language.
Of course, you have real good studies, and I think the best thing is to work together and really getting scientists connected to practical cases and really hearing the demands, and also getting people from cities connecting to these scientists and really also having dialogue with them.
In that regard, I think projects like RAMSES are a good way to try to translate the scientific results and recommendations into practical recommendations.
Researchers, policymakers and all the rest of them, they're hoping to deliver solutions for problems which will benefit people. It's absolutely crucial that you involve the people that you're serving in the process of making those decisions. If there's cooperation, then you've got a much better chance of achieving something than if there's no cooperation. Imposing solutions is not the way forward, and you'll never get anywhere.
We need to work together from all sides, from the private sector, from the public sector, from the academic community. So it's really crucial that we find this common language, and stakeholder dialogue is a tool for this to happen.